So that's the story. So it's a story of spatial inequality. It's a story of racial segregation. It's a story of the sprawl, the growth of the sprawl. It's a story of the proliferation of the automobile. It's a story of the role of the city in producing the public good. It's the story of expertise and the failure of expertise, the hubris of expertise. There's a lot going on.
It was a powerful story with a dramatic end. The footage was replayed again and again. One image seemed to sum up the infamy. It circulated worldwide. It was reprinted next to photos from earlier years and suggested a simple question. What caused the failure?
On 57 acres, this massive 11-story high, 33-building complex stood out from the rest of the area. Yamasaki faced complications prior to the groundbreaking, as government bureaucracies, such as the Public Housing Administration, constantly sought cost-saving measures by limiting the amenities available to the tenants, such as children's play areas, landscaping, and ground floor bathrooms. Pruitt-Igoe was originally constructed as two separate sections. Pruitt stood for the all-black apartments and Igoe for all-white apartments. Later that year, the Supreme Court forced desegregation, and the project faced the problem of integrating the two separate sections. However, this untimely failed, and Pruitt-Igoe became housing for primarily black residents.
From the first, public housing had enemies. Public housing was labeled as un-American, as a communist erosion of the free market. But clearing slums and constructing large buildings was popular with downtown business interests and building trades. Clearance allowed for profitable redevelopment. Construction meant lucrative building contracts and jobs. And so the law was written and the slums were cleared. The towers built and valuable land redeveloped, all with federal funding. But the enemies of public housing had their say as well. No federal funds for operation and maintenance. The projects became dependent on their tenants' income.
You've been under considerable fire because of what is alleged to be, let's say, poor housekeeping practices on the part of the housing authority. How do you respond to that? What do you think is really the thing that's wrong here?
Well, in dealing with public housing, the problem that we find the most pressing is one I've talked about for quite a while publicly. The fact that we simply do not have enough money to operate as well as we should, perhaps.
What about this incinerator here behind us? Do you have difficulty with things like that?
Well, this is a building which will be cleaned. Every building cannot be cleaned at exactly the same moment. People working all day cleaning inside and outside. The incinerator is rather small, but it was built that way, and there's not much we can do about it. We do the best we can, and in most cases it works quite well.
Temperatures dropped below freezing earlier this week. Water lines in several of the Pruitt-Igoe apartment buildings broke, and the subsequent flow of water turned into ice. Today, as temperatures warmed, the ice thawed, and residents continued to battle the resultant mess. At 2311 Dixon, a sewer line is broken, and now raw sewage bubbles out of the ground like a malevolent spring. In the building itself, residents and maintenance crews are working to clean up the mess. Elmer Hammond, chairman of the Human Development Corporation Neighborhood Advisory Council, has tried for 3 days to get city and housing authority officials to help remedy the plight.
Well, I have talked with Mr. Meeker. I've talked with Boyd Wilson of Housing, asked them about this here situation for the last 2 days, and no one ever showed.
In addition to the water, how many families are without heat at this point?
Well, I would say right now approximately 40 or 50 people right now. And it's possible that it will go higher than that before the day is gone.
What's the likelihood that you're going to be able to remedy this?
Well, the only thing I can do now is try to get a hold to the housing authority people and some of the city officials and see if we can get these people out of this building immediately. They cannot stay in there over the night with these children.
Public housing in St. Louis was always used as a segregation tool. The city did everything in its power in order to prevent what was called Negro deconcentration, that is, African Americans moving out of particular neighborhoods. Every project is imagined as a white or black project solely, and they're actually placed on the map in St. Louis in ways that deepen the pockets of segregation in one place or the other. It's a way to really radically separate whites from blacks in ways that no other kind of legislation or other tool had ever been able to do. Pruitt was settled in 1954, right after the Brown versus Board decision. And so very quickly, the projects had to be desegregated. And what happens is that whites actually just leave in droves, and it in effect becomes an all-black project almost immediately. So by the time you get to the Pruitt-Igoe moment, you have a city that is hyper-segregated, in fact, and a region that's hyper-segregated.
We have our home here, and if the colored move in and run real estate values down, it's bound to create tension. And you will have, well, I think their aim is mixed marriages and becoming equal with the whites.
Well, I just could not live beside them. I don't feel that they should be oppressed. But I moved here. One of the main reasons was because it was a white community. And that's the only place I intend to live.
1956, I was not aware of class or who was poor in what black neighborhoods. First of all, being poor was not how black folks thought, how we thought of ourselves. The only thing which we were sure of is that we were black, and most white folk did not like us or at least feigned some toleration. The defining character was our blackness, not our class or our economic status. And I'm not sure even today that I think in terms of people in terms of their poorness.
They were treated in some ways like they were prisoners. If we are going to support you and to give you a few measly dollars to live on, then we're going to extract blood from you. You're going to live according to the rules we set. And the rules just happen to be very punitive.
It was void of humanity. It was void of caring. It seemed more like a prison environment that you'd have to escape from.
We're giving you money, so we have the right to make stipulations as to how you use it and what you use it for. We couldn't have a telephone. We couldn't have a television. And we were really left at the mercy of the system.